Okay. Okay, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great Friday. It's the best day of the week, right? Okay, hello everyone. Okay. The posse is open if you want to join it. Wait, why are 3 more spots locked? Hold on a second. Uh... Okay. Posse is larger and open. You should be able to join in now. What are your thoughts on Hantavirus? I saw an article about that, but I didn't read it. I just got recommended it. What is the deal with this new virus? Like, what's going on with it? Where is it? Oh, and I should feed this horse. Yeah, the horse is really weak right now. Days Gone 2 definitely deserves to be made. Yep. Can I take a shot of Spiritus on my first GTA 6 video? Oh my god, that might be like, that I don't know if I'd be able to handle that. I'm very weak when it comes to alcohol, very weak. And Spiritus is like the strongest alcohol on the planet. If I had like a single glass of that, I don't know what that would do to me. Hantavirus is found in a ship and people don't want them to be released. This virus, how deadly is it? I hope you're doing well. Can you accept my friend request on Discord? I could a little bit later. I can do it. It's a rare but potentially deadly virus family transmitted to humans primarily through contact with infected wild rodents such as deer, mice, or their urine droplings and saliva. What is the survival rate of it? Oh, Truman Days today. Oh, okay. Well, I think that there'd be, those governments would probably pursue charges on their own. So if, like, there was an international criminal court, they would just pursue charges on their own if that failed. Zach. Hopefully you feel better, General. What's my favorite drink? Nesquik Strawberry. Hantavirus survival rate is quite poor, pro. So this is way worse than COVID then. This yeah, yes, Victory in Europe Day. Hey Eric. Happy Friday. What was the rate for COVID, Danilo? Yeah, I hope everything's okay. I hope this virus situation is under control. I'm just, yeah. Not entirely, no. COVID spread a lot more. Well, I'm not talking about the spread. I'm talking about the deadliness, how deadly the virus is. It's contained on a ship, oh. Hopefully it stays contained. Yeah, I think I did, Zebby. Hey, Skiff, how you doing, buddy? 3 people are already dead from the virus?
Away from me.
Oh my god, that's horrible. Okay. Oh, great. What am I doing right now?
Oh no, we need the law now.
How contagious is this thing? This Hantavirus?
Ay, mi madre, ay, mi madre. You shit bastard! He's giving us the slip.
I know. We gotta watch the road.
Trying to get away. Come on. They're putting distance on us. You're dead, you cocksucker. Jesus.
Okay, got away from them there. Okay, Danilo. Well, everyone needs to be quarantined on that ship. You know, they could have made an Undead Nightmare DLC for this game, and they would have made millions of dollars. Like, they would have made so much money. Probably even over $100 million if they made, like, a DLC on this game. A ton of money they would have made it. They made, like, made an expansion pack of, like, Undead Nightmare and made it, like, $19.99 to download. You know, that they would, I'm telling you, they would make so much money from that. But I don't know why they never, released it. Okay, and what's... I guess it's this side.
Ooh, would you look at this ray of sunshine, Tammy?
Okay, good. So there's something else we need your help
Yeah, I know,
with.
Shiny Knight.
See, we like to dispose of our
Refuse?
and general offcuts
Yes.
away from the property as far as possible.
For sanitary reasons.
And we've been generating a lot more as of late, and you know, Brazenies just ain't what they used to be.
Yeah, well, I've been taking down the stairs like a baby foal these days.
So if you could acquire some wagons for us, that would make our lives a lot easier.
Do you think
There's a
COVID was
bunch
man-made?
down at Hill Haven
It came from
Ranch
Wuhan, and they
start
said it was a
with
lab leak.
and
China
the
claimed it was
farmer
from
there's
a wet market, but
farm
since
drum.
China's a communist country, I
Should
doubt
be
it.
easy pickings for someone of your
I think,
unique talents.
I think that, I think it's highly probable that it did very much come from a lab. I think it is highly probable. And I remember the U.S. government made some statements where they said that it was possibly from a lab. They said that, like, what, like, a year or two ago? But, I remember when people were saying that it came from a lab, they were accused of being conspiracy theorists, anti-China, like, a bunch of other stuff. And, like, people's posts were getting deleted. Like, people that posted about that on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, like, they were getting censored. And now it turns out that it's possible it did come from a lab. What should you say to the police in a self-defense shooting? Well, call the police. You basically, just... The only thing I mean, in my opinion, the only thing you really should say is you tell the 911 operator basically what happened, that, you know, somebody broke in, or, you know, and you had to defend yourself, and that. When the police arrive, just basically, if the police try to question you or anything, just tell them that I want to talk to a lawyer. That's the safest thing. And don't think that just because you ask for a lawyer that you have something to hide. You don't. The lawyer is just meant to protect you, specifically. So that's it. So the police will twist people's words. I'm somebody who I studied law enforcement, and sometimes police can twist people's words, so that's basically what I'll say. I know there are also self-defense insurance that you can carry around, and it's a lot of people don't have it, but basically if you get into like a self-defense situation, is, you know, you call up that company, they'll send a lawyer down for you, and they'll take care of everything everything right away. I wasn't, I guess I was busy on May 4th. I'm gonna do something next year for it. That's scary, John Doe. That's terrifying. My favorite Fallout 4 ally? Probably Gage. I've always liked the Raiders in Fallout 4, so I guess it was probably Gage. Yeah, I know. Russia has, like, a very big Victory Day parade. They call it the Great Patriotic War in Russia, on Victory Day. What do you think of tech and gaming channels solely relying on business credit card and channel revenue to support their channel? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, Ant-Man? Can you explain a little bit more? I think that San Andreas Definitive Edition looks a lot better. I know it might be unpopular with some people, but I don't mind San Andreas Definitive Edition now. I don't. I think it's an okay game. You know, nothing beats the nostalgia of the original, but I think San Andreas Definitive Edition is okay now. Hi, April. Have you got a stockpile in case of another pandemic? I always stock a lot of canned food. Like, if you've seen my pantry, I probably have like 50 cans of food just in my pantry alone. Like, I store a lot of canned food. I heard Ukraine is planning a strike on Putin's Victory Day parade. No. They should not do that. That is, there's a lot of civilians that would be present in an area like that. No, you can't do something like that. And if they did that, the response from Russia would probably be psychotic. Like, if they actually did that, the way Russia responded would probably be extremely aggressive. Hey, GB. How you doing? Did you know that Jaime Weiss was responsible for the creation of the WWII ride, which is where a victim rides with their killer to a location to die? No, I did not know that, Visionary. Oh, I'd love to see Vice City Stories and Liberty City Stories Definitive Edition. Some people make their YouTube channel into a business where they can take out a credit card in the channel name. What? This is the first time I'm hearing about something like that. GTA 4 Definitive Edition? Oh, I'd love that. Oh, we're full on the posse, though. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mafia 3's radio was really good. A lot of good songs. Thank you, Aaron, for the super chat. Oh, and thank you, Minion Dave. Lucky number 7, also in Black Ops Hong Kong mission, seeing big planes flying directly above Kowloon walled city is so scary. That was a real thing. The airport was actually really close to the walled city. That was a real thing, though, Minion Dave. Oh, hey, Jafar. How you doing, dude? I keep crashing today. What are the top 10 things that Saints Row 2 did better than GTA San Andreas? I actually want to have a video on this. One day I think I'll have a video on this. The top 10 things that Saints Row 2 does better than GTA. But I think for one, Saints Row 2. I think the number one thing that Saints Row 2 does better than GTA is the customization. The customization in Saints Row 2 has always been better than GTA's customization. The clothes, the cars, the character creation, everything has always been better than GTA. To be fair, GTA does have a preset character, but the clothing customization could be better. It could be way better than what it is. I mean, even if you look at GTA 5's clothing customization, GTA 5's clothing customization sucks compared to Saints Row 2. Like, Saints Row 2 at 2008 games destroys their clothing customization so much. I know about that, Liskif. I know. Like, those Azov guys, I know that those guys in the Ukrainian army, those guys are some pretty bad guys. Like, a lot of those guys are extremists. Not defending Russia or anything, but, like, that Azov brigade has, like, a lot of, like, white supremacists and, like, neo-Nazis in it. It's really messed up. And the apartment is so much better in Saints Row 2. Yes, that is true. The house customization in Saints Row 2 is just way better. Was the scariest Chicago gangster in the 1920s? No, I think maybe Al Capone probably has the fiercest reputation. Crime boss Rockhay said he got another new heist? Huh. Have any cosplay ideas if you play Oblivion? Yeah, probably some, like, Roman-like armor, maybe. Does Saints Row 2 beat San Andreas in terms of story? No, I think San Andreas does beat Saints Row 2 in story, but Saints Row 2's story is also really good. Did you hear that the US has let the American passengers off the ship with the virus into the US? What? They didn't quarantine them? Has, did that money amount, it was like $50 billion, did the community hit the goal on Crime Boss? Well, General Mahmoud is kind of a parody off of Saddam Hussein. That's what he is in SOCOM 3. I would love to see something like Mafia 3's drug business in GTA 6, yeah. I'd love to see that. Is Saints Row 2 better than Saints Row 1? Yes. Saints Row 2 takes everything Saints Row 1 had and improves it. When's my next SOCOM 3 video? Tomorrow. Sorry if this is stupid, but how are you American if both your parents are Polish? Because I'm born in America, I'm an American citizen. My parents are immigrants, but I'm an American. I was born here. I identify culturally with America. I'm an American. I have an American accent. Even though I speak Polish, I wouldn't say that I identify with Polish culture a lot. I identify much more with American culture. If I lived in Poland, I would not fit in. I know I don't talk about Red Dead 2's story a lot. I'm gonna do a playthrough of this game before GTA 6 comes out. So before GTA 6 comes out, we'll come back and do Red Dead Redemption 2's story. Yeah, it's always something crazy, like, a whole chain reaction of things, John Doe, but... Oh yeah, I'm gonna do those, Mr. Spooky. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do rank up guides on it too. A bunch of guides on GTA 6. What do you mean, Jafar? Do you think GTA 6 will beat Saints Row 2? I think so, the hype and what we've been waiting for so long, yeah.
Well, now, I was wondering when you did that.
Venga ya.
Can you do an impression of Polly from The Sopranos? Oh! Oh! That's the best way to do an impression of Polly. He just does that all the time. Oh! When do you turn a target in? Wait until the timer hits 5 minutes, then turn a target in.
Idiota.
You watch American Dad? I've watched a little bit of it. I never got into it. How did Poland win the Polish-Soviet War? At the start of the war, Poland pushed into Ukraine and took a lot of land, but then the Soviets just, you know, overran the Polish because of their numbers. But when the Soviets did a counterattack on Warsaw, the Polish just entrenched themselves really well and destroyed them and pushed them back.
hell are you gonna do to me?
What's the problem? Is some YouTuber out claiming the trailer 3 comes out today and makes a live stream? The problem is if they make above 8 minutes. What YouTuber? Who are you talking about, Sam? In the third remove mission for Zero, thanked up, Zero says that it's fun to have an enemy, and that his life would be over if Berkeley would die. What does this say about Zero as a character? Well, that he has an obsession with Berkeley. I actually did not even know about that. Damn, that sucks. If I had known about that, I would have put that in my lore video. If I had known about that. That's, damn. I wish I would have known about that. I would have included that in my lore video. That would have been perfect. But basically that just shows my reading of Zero is perfect. My reading of him was spot on, perfect. That he's obsessed with Berkeley. He can't let it go. So yeah, it's perfect. I read it perfectly then. Next lore video that we're gonna make is it's gonna be on the Da Nang boys. Is it Da Nang or Da Nang? I just want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. Da Nang or Da Nang. But I'm gonna do a lore video on them. That's gonna be the next one. Oh hey Javi, how you doing, dude? Why did Saints Row 1 only come out on the Xbox 360? I guess because Xbox came out before PS3 did, so they probably had more time to work on it. Probably the reason. Well, like I said, they pushed him out of Warsaw, Steve, Carrillo. Da Nang. Okay, so Da Nang. Okay. Oh yeah, I'll play Stranger Than Heaven, yeah, definitely. Isn't the main character, correct me if I'm wrong, the main character in Stranger Than Heaven, isn't he a Japanese American? Okay. I'm not at the moment, Jafar, but I have a lore video planned for San Andreas later this month. You should do an Assassin's Creed playthrough. I played through Assassin's Creed 1, but I could do Assassin's Creed Black Flag when that comes out. Why is this not working, the mission? Yeah, I'll do a playthrough of the remake of Black Flag. Yes, I will. What do I love the most about my Polish heritage? I don't know. Maybe the history. You know, Poland has a very, you know, long and proud history, and Poland had actually resisted a lot throughout its history, like a lot. Like the amount of countries that started crap with Poland, like throughout its history, like Poland has, you know, had so many countries harass them, but Poland is still standing. It shows you how resistant Poland was. There's a lot of civilizations out there that did not last. They got conquered, they got wiped out. But Poland is still standing to this day. Have you ever seen the oversized training rifles they made in the 40s, 60s for the US military? One of the funniest things ever. Yes, I did see that. I saw it on Pawn Stars. A guy brought in, like, a giant BAR rifle to try to sell that to Rick. Crazy how I can play Red Dead Redemption 1 on mobile now. Cheers. Yeah, and I wish Thank you, Janet, for the super chat. I wish that they would include the multiplayer. Lore video idea. Who is this random San Andreas NPC? Yep. No, I'm gonna watch it very soon, Victor. Okay, why is my... I'm gonna go to my moonshine business. Do you know the British Boer Wars and the Boxer Rebellion happened around the same time as Red Dead Redemption 2 story? Yes. Do you know what else happened? The Spanish-American War. Spanish-American War happened, and at the time of Red Dead Redemption 2, when Red Dead Redemption 2 is taking place, the U.S. is actually fighting a war in the Philippines against the Philippines resistance. So at that exact time. Uncle actually talks about it. He talks about the Philippine-American War in the story.
So, what shall we create?
Is that why he's treated so poorly in the game, Butterbean? Which European countries are as resilient as Poland? Well, countries that have gone through a lot in their history. Greece, for example, Greece had been conquered a lot through their history. Greece has been conquered longer than Greece has been occupied longer than other countries have existed. Greece got conquered by the Romans. They got conquered by the Byzantines. They got conquered by the Ottomans. But Greece had resisted a lot throughout their history too.
The American palette will never be defined by its complexity. Mais please, drive carefully. I beg you.
Well, my own country first, Jafar. Wait, what are you talking about, Liskip? Oh, crap. Yeah, just please don't slow down in front of me, because I'm not going to stop. Oh, there's a legendary animal there. Damn it. Damn, I just busted a bunch of the bottles here. It's a Sopranos joke. Toby says the line. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I could. I could also play the Uncharted games too, Shiny Knight. No, Gazala, it's already up. It's got 40,000 views. I'm not just gonna, you know, re-upload it again. Is it true that Poland and Hungary had good relations during World War II? Yes. Even until today. Today, Poland and Hungary have very good relations. So, Poland and Hungary have a very shared like history. Both countries see themselves as like brotherly nations, even though they're not the same ethnicity. Like Poles are Slavic, but I don't know what the ethnicity that Hungarians are is called. But they're not Slavic. But regardless, is that both countries have very good relations. Basically, see themselves as brotherly nations. But Poland and Hungary have had really good relations, even going back to the medieval era. You know, they've been allies, they've been friends for a long time. During World War II, when Hungary was, for example, you know, allied with Nazi Germany, there was the Polish. A lot of Polish people would actually cross over to the Hungarian sector, the area that the Hungarian soldiers would control, and a lot of the Hungarian soldiers would actually protect the Polish civilians from the Nazis. So that was actually a real thing that happened, and a lot of Polish people never forgot about that. So that is something that did happen. There was the Hungarians would also a lot of times lie to the Nazis about where the Polish resistance was, and the Polish resistance a lot of times avoided attacking the Hungarian soldiers too. So that was the Armia Krajowa, which is the home army. That was a true thing. So yes, that question you're asking, it is true. Yes. Well, I don't, you know, cursing a lot in the stream, though, can get a demonetized list skip. That's why I tend to avoid it. Do you know why Japan loves Poland so much? It's, here's the thing is, Japan and Poland actually have had really good relations. Even, like, up to 100 years ago, they've had really good relations. So, basically, the first diplomatic, you know, relationship between Japan and Poland, it happened in the Russo-Japanese War. So in 1904, what happened was 1904 to 1905, Japan was fighting Russia, the Russian Empire. Józef Piłsudski, who was a Polish revolutionary, had actually traveled to Japan and had wanted the Japanese to basically fund a Polish uprising inside, you know, Russian-occupied Poland. So the Poles, for example, provided the Japanese with a lot of intelligence on the Russians during the Russo-Japanese War, and the Poles supported the Japanese during the Russo-Japan War. So that was it. So both countries hated Russia. Is like both Poland and Japan hated Russia at that time. And so that was where their relationship began. Japan, the other thing is Japanese soldiers also saved hundreds of Polish kids from the Russian Kartogas. So for people that don't know what the Kartogas were basically Russian imperial gulags. So something that a lot of people don't know about Russian history is that the Bolsheviks, the communists, were actually not the ones who started up the forced labor system. The forced labor system under the communists was called the gulags, but they weren't the ones who started that. They weren't the original creators of it. The original creators were the monarchists, the Russian imperials, the whites. That's what they were called, the monarchists in Russia. Now, a lot of Polish people were sent to these Kartoga work camps that were like in the far eastern parts of Russia, where it was Asia. It wasn't even Europe anymore at that point. It was so far east that it was Asian parts of Russia. A lot of Polish people were sent out to these Kartoga camps because, for example, the Russians tried really hard to destroy Polish culture. They tried to Russify Poland. They tried to destroy the Polish language. They tried to also ban Catholicism, which is the main religion inside Poland. They tried to force Poles to be Russian Orthodox, if Polish people, for example, were teaching their kids how to speak Polish, like in secret underground schools, they had those, the entire family could actually be deported to one of those Kartoga camps. And so what ended up happening was you had thousands of Polish children that were actually deported to these work camps in the far eastern parts of Russia. Now, during the Russian Civil War, what happened was Japan actually invaded the far eastern parts of Russia in the Siberian intervention. There's a few other countries that were also in the Siberian intervention, but Japan was one of the bigger ones. Now, the main purpose of the Siberian intervention was to help the Czechoslovakian soldiers evacuate, because the Czech soldiers went east to try to get out of Russia. and it was also to try to stop the Bolsheviks from expanding to the far eastern parts of Russia, but it didn't go well. Now, the Japanese were actually the ones who made the biggest advance in the Siberian intervention, and Japan's main objective there was they were trying to colonize Siberia. They were basically trying to turn Siberia into part of the greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. When Japan had actually gone into the far eastern parts of Russia, they actually found those labor camps. Those labor camps that had thousands of those Polish children. If Japan had not intervened in that, all of those kids would have died. And the Japanese military actually saved all of the Polish children from those camps and had actually taken them back to Japan. And they were actually raised in orphanages in Japan. Now, most of these Polish kids were then sent back to Poland when Poland became an independent country a year later after that. But a lot of those kids never forgot that, and Poland actually has, like, statues today inside dedicated to those Japanese soldiers who actually saved those kids. So Poland actually has memorials dedicated towards that. And the Japanese Prime Minister, I know, visited Poland and met with the Polish Prime Minister, and they actually went to that memorial together, and they talked about the shared history. So that's where Japan and Poland have that, that bond. And the Japanese military was actually very brutal and very cruel in a lot of the things that they did, but surprisingly, that was actually one of the few things that the Japanese military did that was actually honorable and actually good. So that was like, they saved a bunch of children from forced labor camps. So like, that was very surprising that the Japanese military did that, considering how brutal they were in a lot of aspects. But that was like one thing that they did that was really good, and the Poland never forgot about that. And after that, in the 1920s, Poland and Japan actually had very good relations in the 1920s. When Germany actually invaded Poland in 1939, Japan was actually really angry about that. They were really pissed off about that, and they were basically going off at Hitler about that. So they were not. Japan was not too happy about that, and Japan never recognized the occupation of Poland. So they never recognized that as legitimate, German territory. Now, this is where this gets really confusing. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941, the Polish government in exile that was in Britain declared war on Japan because America entered the war. Japan refused the Polish declaration of war. It's like a really weird moment in history where Poland declared war on Japan and Japan just refused to acknowledge it. Japan had basically claimed that Poland was occupied by Britain, that they were controlled by Britain, and so therefore they could not, they couldn't make an actual declaration of war against Japan, and so Japan rejected that declaration. So that was basically that. Japan restored relations with Poland after World War II, and Poland was communist, but the relations weren't that good. After World War II, or after the Cold War, Japanese and Polish relations have been good. So Japanese and Polish people have like just an admiration for each other. Both people just like each other. I know a lot of Japanese people visit Poland, a lot of Polish people visit Japan. So wasn't Japan allied with the Axis? Yes, Japan was allied with the Axis, but this is what gets complicated about that, is that the Axis never liked each other. They never did. Italy hated Germany, Germany hated Italy, Japan hated Germany, Germany hated Japan. They were together, they were allies, but they didn't like each other. They didn't trust each other. So that's it. So Germany, for example, wanted Japan to invade Russia, or the Soviet Union, and Japan refused. So like Germany kept pressing Japan to attack, and they wouldn't. So that's basically the whole backstory on that. Yes, they were allies, and no, I'm not defending Japan's empire or anything like that. I'm only explaining the why Japan and Poland have basically such good relations. I'm just explaining the history on that and stuff like that. Oh, absolutely, Hitler definitely hated Italians. There's no doubt about that, Adrian. Definitely. Pro UFO Life. Are you going to be making a video? UFO Life. What are you talking about, Jolda? Thank you for the super chat. So it was a fragile alliance? Yeah, pretty much. Well, the Japanese soldiers who saved those Polish kids, those were not the same Japanese soldiers that were in China later on. Those were not. Was the Polish government in exile in Britain? Yes, it was. No, no, as far as I know, Liskiff, no, they didn't. They had problems during communist times. I thought Italians were white. I mean, Italians are white. But the thing is that throughout and this is what people don't know. Throughout most of history, Italians weren't considered white by other, other nationalities. So in most of Europe, Italians were actually not considered white. In most of Europe, they weren't. And the Sicilians, for example, they were seen as like a different race by the rest of the Italians. So even the Italians didn't even see the Sicilians as white. Italians were not considered white in America. They were actually considered colored. But it wasn't just Italians. Polish, Irish, Greek, any kind of Eastern European were seen as colored. They were not seen as white. And so, like, in the South, if you were, like, a Polish American or an Italian American and you, like, lived in the South during, like, segregation times, people had to carry around these ridiculous cards that would show how much white you are. And it was like, if your great-grandpa was not white, then you were not white. You were considered 100% colored. It was like a really stupid, dumb system. But that was, that was basically how they had it in the South. It was just a really dumb and messed up system. And also, about it is, the Nazis, for example, they were not obsessed with the white race. They were obsessed with the Aryan race. So even though Italians are technically white, Italians were not seen as Aryan by the Nazis. They weren't. The Nazis saw Aryans as Germans, the Dutch, the Danes, the Norwegians, the Swedes, the French. They didn't see the Finns as Aryan. I'm trying to think of any other nationalities. They didn't see the Baltics as Aryan either. But it was like the French, the Dutch, the Danes, the Belgians, the British were seen as Aryans too. But yeah, it was this all this Aryan race crap they were obsessed with. So no, the Germans didn't see the Italians as Aryans. They didn't see the Japanese as Aryans. You know the thing is, the Germans had like a really weird system for the Japanese. Whenever the Japanese would come to visit Germany during diplomatic missions, do you know what they would refer to them as? They referred to them as honorary Aryans. It was like a really weird term, and the primary reason they called them honorary Aryans was not to offend the Japanese. That was the whole, pretty much the whole reason for that. Funny thing, I heard Russians are not considered white either. Well, Russians were not considered white in America for most of American history. It was not until, like, I would say probably the late 60s that they were considered white. But it really depends on what part of Russia. Like, for example, Western Russians, like Western Slavs, are definitely white. But then you had, like, Siberian Russians, who were, and then you also had Central Asian Russians, too. Yes, they did consider the Irish colored. That is true. I know you might find that surprising, but that is true. The Irish were not considered white for a lot of American history. And the primary reason for that was because the Irish were Catholics. Like, Catholics faced a lot of discrimination. Did they consider Sweden Aryan? Yes, the Nazis considered Sweden Aryan. Why was Hitler obsessed with the swastika and Aryans when their religious symbol in Hinduism? Well, the swastika isn't just a religious symbol in Hinduism. It's a symbol in a lot of different cultures. So a lot of cultures and histories, civilizations have had swastikas. Like, even ancient Greece used the swastikas. So, like, the swastika has been a symbol that has been around for thousands of years. It was just until the more modern history. It was only until, like, the last 80 years that, the swastika was perverted. And seen as like a symbol of evil, because that's what the Nazis were. It's most known for associated with the Nazis. But there's like a lot of civilizations that used the swastika. Like, for India did, Greece did, Finland I know did also. I know there's a lot of other civilizations that did it. It was all just a bunch of stupid, like, it was all just a bunch of stupid nonsense. This whole Aryan race crap. The whole thing was just completely idiotic. Even the Native Americans used the swastika. Well, that I didn't know. I guess you learn something new every day. Are you a conservative? No, I consider myself a libertarian. Let me see here. YouTube didn't like that swastika in your video. The Medal of Honor videos, they got demonetized. Most of them did because of the swastika in that game. It's so stupid. It's like I'm playing a World War II game and it gets demonetized for that. No, I didn't, Zer. I didn't see it.
Hey, you think you could put them hands back to work?
It's too boat theft.
How much you know about my operation? My munition sales? I got a whole network of distribution. Yeah, by land and water. It used to be all freight moved by water up rivers. Not so much now, but I like it. Less bandits.
Well, look, the
Only my boats.
that whole system that existed in the South, that was like one of the stupidest systems that ever existed. Like, it was such an idiotic, dumb system.
I
I
will reward you, all right.
if I lived in the South in that time period, if I had like one of those documents, I would be considered colored. My dad is a Tatar, so my dad is Central Asian. My mom is Slavic, Polish, so that is and Poles were not considered white either, so I would have been considered colored back then on one of those cards. So like they had those it was just such an idiotic, dumb system, and the thing is that what's really ironic here is you have a lot of racists today that like support a system like that, but what they don't understand is that if they had any of that ancestry, they would have been regarded as colored too. So like if you were like white in that time period and like all of your ancestors were white, but then your great grandpa was black, you would be considered 100% colored, 100%. That's how that system worked back then. So that's what the one-drop rule was in the southern states. So like a lot of these racists themselves that support that system, they would have actually been classified as colored, ironically. So like if you had any Irish ancestry, any Polish ancestry, any Italian ancestry, any of that, any Eastern European ancestry, you would have been considered colored if you lived in the South in that time period. Okay, this boat. What are you confused about, Arcade? It's okay, Zer. So the logic goes if a neutral symbol is used by a hate group, the symbol is forever tainted. That's stupid. No, it's not forever tainted. But I'm saying is that whenever people think of the swastika, the first thing that they think of is Nazis. Like whenever people think of the swastika, that is literally the first, because that is what it was. Unfortunately, the most known for was World War II, the worst war in human history. But for example, the swastika is like a religious symbol in Hinduism, and I think it means peace. It's a peace symbol in Hinduism. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I've seen what the Indian swastika looks like. It does not look anything like a Nazi swastika, and it's a different color too, and it has like these dots on the side of it too. So it looks a bit different. But yeah, the Nazis took like a symbol that was, historically a peaceful symbol, and they perverted it and turned it into something just absolutely evil. What is the perfect gangster car to you? Lincoln Continental or Cadillac DeVille? Well, Darren, I'm not a car guy, so I don't even know both of those cars. The one thing I can say is I think the ultimate gangster car is probably the Ford Model T, the Al Capone's car. The car that Al Capone drove. I think that is probably the bulletproof one. That was probably the most gangster car out there. Why did Congress and Woodrow Wilson support the creation of the federal income tax in 1913? And how did the 16th Amendment change the federal government's power to raise money? The federal income tax is probably one of the worst decisions in American history. It is. Like, honestly, Woodrow Wilson, for me, is in the top 5 worst U.S. presidents ever. Like, if I had the top 5 worst U.S. presidents, he would definitely be on the list. He wouldn't be number 1, but he would definitely be on that list. So, like, he is one of the absolute worst presidents. And, like, that federal income tax destroyed America. Like, it caused so many problems. It even causes problems to this day. Like, there was a YouTuber that I was watching today earlier where he was, like, uploading a video talking about how the IRS was harassing him, how he did his taxes, and they told him he still owed money, and they were threatening him. So, like, I was actually just watching that today. And that's how disgusting the federal income tax is. Did I miss Steak and Shake from Oyo? The food in Steak and Shake was good. It was good, but here's what I'll tell you. When I went to that Steak and Shake, right? My friend had his food given raw. Like, he was given raw chicken. Like, actually raw. And one of our other friends, he was waiting an hour for food. Who do I wish had become president but never did? Oh, that's easy. Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt in 1912? 1912, I think it was. If Teddy Roosevelt had become president with the Bull Moose Party in 1912, the country would have been in such a much better state. Ginger people are weak at sunburns? What? Didn't the Nazis claim to be descendant of ancient Greeks? I've never heard about that before. The Nazis did not consider Greeks to be Aryans, by the way. So I don't know. It's the first time I've heard about that.
Hey, move on out of here. Morning, mister.
By the way, if you want a pretty historically a pretty good movie that's pretty historically accurate that I like a lot, if anybody has ever watched the movie The Green Book, The Green Book is pretty historically accurate on what segregation was like in the South. It's also based on a true story. The main character in the movie, he's an Italian American from New York, and he goes to the Deep South to protect this black musician during his road trip as his bodyguard. And the main character is racist himself. And when he actually is traveling in the South, there's one scene where he gets pulled over by a cop, and when the cop is asking him what his last name is, he tells him that it's Italian, and then the cop basically calls him an N-word. And the reason that happened was because in the South, they did not see Italians as white. They saw them as colored. And when the cop calls him an N-word in the movie, he actually knocks the cop out and he gets arrested for that. But that was probably one of the most satisfying punches in the entire movie. When he knocked that cop out, it's probably one of the most satisfying scenes in the film. But it's a really good movie. I highly recommend people check it out. Ron Paul would have been a good president. I think he would have, yeah. You know, he wanted absolute small government. He was against all these stupid wars. He was against being involved in these alliances. Yeah, I think he would have been an okay president if he was president. They did not give him a chance though. Like, he was really pushed out of his nomination. Like, he was really thrown out. I remember in 2012 when that happened, they really pushed him out. What's my favorite quote from that movie? I need to think about that one. I don't know. I can't even think of any of the quotes right now at the moment, but... Yeah, I know that. Tony Lip played Carmine Lupertazzi. So if anybody's ever watched The Sopranos, the actor who plays as Carmine Lupertazzi is actually that Italian guy that I was talking about. The true story is actually him. That's actually the guy who knocked the racist cop out. That was actually the actor who plays as Carmine Lupertazzi in The Sopranos. So we're talking the actor. That was actually the story's actually based on him. Ron Paul is never gonna go back in politics. He's not. He's too old. He's too old. He's not going to. His son will probably. His son Rand will probably run. He will probably go back into politics and he'll probably try to be president one day. But his Ron Paul is done. He's never gonna run again. Frank Valli played Rusty, but they also mentioned Frankie in the show. Wait, the Rusty, he was in the Green... The guy who plays as Rusty was in the Green Book? I don't... Who was he? I think you did, Shiny Knight, but I'm really sorry you're going through that. I hope everything's okay with you.
Hey, get yourself gone from here.
This isn't gonna end so well for you.
I'm getting better with free aim. Yep, that's all free aim there. Getting way better with it. What would you do if you were president? Oh, I'd do a lot of things if I was president, but I honestly don't think I would survive. I think like the CIA would like kill me. The Nazi Party's founder, Dietrich Eckart, claimed that Aryans are descendants of the Atlanteans. This whole thing is just so stupid. You see, the Nazis were basically a cult. That's basically what they're... This whole obsession with this race, Aryan race crap, that we're descendants of this and that, and this ancient civilization, it's so stupid. It is. It's just so idiotic. I cannot believe that so many people had believed in that garbage. That's so stupid. Did I see the film Hotel Rwanda? I know the film, but I never watched it. It's, I've seen clips of it, but I know the movie you're talking about. The United Nations failed in that. They failed in Rwanda. So, like, the United Nations, they really messed up there when the Rwandan genocide happened. How much do you know about the supernatural division in the Nazis that's depicted in Indiana Jones? Wolfenstein, Hellboy. I actually don't know that much about it, but I do know that the SS, for example, had like these really creepy, like, ancient, like, pagan rituals. So, like, Himmler was like really obsessed with that stuff. Like, they did these ancient rituals to the ancient Germanic gods, like Odin and a bunch of this other stuff. So, like, there are pictures that you can find on Google of, like, the Nazi SS doing, like, these pagan rituals, these, like, that, you know, these literally, like, 2,000-year-old rituals the ancient Germans used to do. Yes, that is true. That you know your history really well, Vanny. That the United Nations actually owe 16 million in unpaid parking tickets. But What a lot of people don't know is that the United Nations is not subject to New York City laws. Even though it's inside New York City, it's technically not even part of New York City. It's technically its own thing. It's actually separate from the city, even though it's right in the middle of the city. It's in Manhattan, but it's But yeah, the United Nations, like I'll say, is really a failure of an organization. It is. The United Nations, really, when you think about it, it's really the new League of Nations. That's really what it was. The League of Nations was, before World War II, and it was like they were trying to stop another world war from happening, and then you saw when World War II started, what did the League of Nations do? They did nothing. The only thing the League of Nations did is they kicked countries out. So, like, when the Soviet Union invaded Finland, they kicked the Soviet Union out, but Stalin was like, I don't care. And then when Italy invaded Ethiopia, they kicked Italy out, and Italy's like, I don't care. And then when Germany invaded Poland, they kicked Germany out, and Germany's like, I don't care. Like, they were just completely useless. And then they made the United Nations after World War II, hoping to prevent that. And the United Nations has been more helpful, but it's also been a failure in a lot of places. And the thing about the United Nations is I can name you 3 events where there was genocide going on. Like, people were being mass murdered, and the United Nations failed every single time. So, going through history, what happened was in the 1970s, Indonesia annexed East Timor. So East Timor is a small country, a small island country that borders Indonesia. Indonesia had annexed East Timor, and Indonesia had basically claimed that, East Timor was, there was a communist revolution coming, and we did that to prevent the communists from taking power. Now, what ended up happening is, 20 years after that, East Timor had a referendum. And the only reason that the Indonesian government allowed that referendum to happen was because they wanted to assert their rule, legitimize their rule over East Timor. They wanted to basically say, oh, look, the majority of East Timorans, they support us, and they want us to be, part of Indonesia. And what they didn't realize is that the majority of East Timorans did not want to be part of Indonesia. They didn't want to be part of it at all. They didn't want anything to do with it. When they had that referendum, and the referendum went through, the majority of people voted overwhelmingly to leave Indonesia. And Indonesia was completely shocked by that. They were so shocked because they expected East Timor to stay. And when East Timor voted to leave, the Indonesian government, they got really angry about that. So what they did was they basically funded these crazy psychotic militias. And these Indonesian militias, they basically gave them a bunch of weapons, and they had them cross into East Timor, intimidating voters and killing people and mass murdering people. So these Indonesian militias are basically going around in East Timor and just killing people. And the United Nations sent peacekeeping forces during that, and they did nothing. Nothing. So, like, these Indonesian militias were going around murdering people, and the United Nations did nothing to stop it. Zero. Australia actually did way more. Australia invaded East Timor, and they actually destroyed these militias. They actually took them. They used their military to take them down. And Australia stabilized East Timor. That's why a lot of East Timorans have a favorable view of Australia. They like Australia, but they don't like the United Nations, primarily because of that. So that's one thing where genocide was happening, and the United Nations did nothing to stop it. You also had the Rwandan genocide. This happened in the 90s, Demigod. The Rwandan genocide, that happened in the country Rwanda in Africa. The Rwandan genocide, I don't remember when it was. It happened a few decades ago, but it was I don't know that much about it, but what I do know, it was a British colony. When the British were leaving, they put this one tribe in charge. They gave them the power, and that one tribe wanted to massacre the other tribe. I think it was the Tutsi people. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And basically, the one tribe was massacring the other tribe, like just genociding them, just killing them. And the United Nations sent a peacekeeping force there. They did nothing. The UN did nothing. They were useless. They did not stop the genocide. They didn't stop any of that happening. Now, and that's two instances of genocide happening where the United Nations failed. You have the third one, during the Bosnian War in the 90s, when Serbia invaded Bosnia, the Serbian military was taking Bosnian people from their villages and just taking them to mass graves and just executing them, shooting them in the head, just dumping them in these mass graves. Thousands of Bosnians were just being mass murdered by the Serbian military, and the United Nations sent a peacekeeping force there. They did nothing. Nothing to stop that. So that was, Rwanda was Belgian. Correct me if I'm sorry about that. Not British. My apologies on that. But basically, is that you had 3 different instances of genocide happening: East Timor, Bosnia, and Rwanda. And in all 3 cases, you had the United Nations that sent peacekeepers, and those peacekeepers did nothing to stop it from happening. They did nothing. The criminals went around killing people, and the United Nations was completely useless in all the situations. So that's that. Why? They're just useless. They're useless. That's the United Nations really is useless. The United Nations is really like a joke. They are. Like, a lot of people see them as useless. It's like, what are you even doing? Like, what's your purpose? They send peacekeepers all the time, but do these peacekeepers ever actually do anything? And also, do you know what stopped the Bosnian genocide? What stopped that was when the U.S. sent planes into Bosnia and bombed the Serbian military. When the U.S. sent planes into Serbia and then bombed their military, that stopped it, not the United Nations peacekeepers. And the thousands of Bosnians survived. Like, thousands of Bosnians escaped from the Serbian military when the U.S. bombed the Serbian military. That's why Bosnia is one of the few Muslim countries that actually has a very favorable view of the U.S. Like, they really like Americans. And the reason for that was because if it was not for those American airstrikes, a lot of Bosnians would not be alive today. So a lot of Bosnians see America as, like, saving them from the Serbians at that time. So that's what stopped it. So the East Timor genocide was stopped when Australia intervened, and the Bosnian genocide was stopped when America intervened. But the United Nations in all those instances basically just failed. Let me see here. My country, Indonesia, is so corrupt. Even after independence, they fought against the Dutch and Imperial Japanese doing the exact same thing. Yeah, Indonesia has a like a tragic history. It has a history of, you know, colonialism. It was the Dutch, the Japanese. When Indonesia became independent, you had communists that were going around just killing people. You had communist rebels that were like terrorists, basically, in Indonesia, like terrorizing the country. And then you had dictatorship. You had, you know, dictatorship in Indonesia, and eventually the dictatorship was, I know, it was removed or, you know, kicked out. But yes, Indonesia is a country that does have a lot of corruption problems today. It has a very high corruption index. Thank you, Jolly, for the super chat. What about in the Korean War? Well, the Korean War is probably the only time the United Nations was not useless. Probably the only time where it actually had an effect. So yes, you could make the argument the United Nations saved South Korea, because if it was not for the UN intervention, you know, South Korea would be part of North Korea today. But what I will say about that is, it was really the U.S. that really did, that was the main force in Korea. There was other countries that helped, like, you know, Ethiopia was there, Turkey was there, I know Britain sent troops also to the Korean War, but the U.S. was the main force in the Korean War. So it wasn't really UN peacekeepers, it was more the individual countries. So it was the United Nations basically just said that, we're intervening to stop this attack. And the reason they did that is it was right after World War II. It was basically to show that, oh, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to tolerate these invasions of other countries again. And so that was the whole backstory on that. And here's the thing about that. The Soviet Union screwed North Korea over so badly. They did. Because, and the Soviet Union helped the U.S. win the Korean War. So that's what's so ironic about that. So basically, the backstory on that is, Kim Il-sung, who is the dictator of North Korea, he's also the grandfather of Kim Jong-un. He was North Korea's founder. He asked Stalin for permission to invade South Korea. Stalin gave him permission and supported him, gave him T-34 tanks, gave him MiG-15s, had basically supported the North Korean war effort. Now, when North Korea invaded South Korea, the United Nations was actually taking a vote at the Security Council whether to intervene or not. The Soviets were pissed that the majority of the United Nations was angry about North Korea's invasion, and what they did was they boycotted the vote. They didn't vote. They walked out. And because the Soviets boycotted that vote and they walked out, the majority of the countries voted in favor of intervening to basically stop North Korea. If the Soviet Union was present during that vote would have failed. So because they walked out, the Soviets were just thinking that they were protesting by walking out. It actually ironically helped the U.S. because they were like, oh yes, now we can get this vote done because the Soviets had walked out. So that's what was so ironic about that, is the Soviets refusing to participate actually was North Korea's downfall in the Korean War. Did you know that Manny Escuela's last name means school in Spanish? Yes, Escuela means school. Yeah, that is true. There's a mission called Escuela of the Streets in GTA 4, which basically would mean School of the Streets. Thank you, David, for the super chat. How's it going, Pro? What kind of music do you listen to? Hey, Recipe, what's up, man? I listen to all types of music. I'll listen to everything: rap, rock, you know, hip hop, classical. I'll really listen to anything. The only time I don't like certain music is when the music is just cringy, or if it's like it has so much cursing in it. If it has like constant cursing in it, then I'm not gonna watch it or listen to it, I should say. Let me see here. Were you a fan of Chris Benoit before the tragedy? Yes. A lot of us, a lot of us back then, a lot of kids, they liked Chris Benoit. A lot of kids looked up to Chris Benoit. And here's the thing is, when Chris Benoit killed his wife and child, when that happened, is that the majority of people could not believe it at the time, that Chris Benoit had done that. Most people could not believe that. So, like, when that happened, like, the first few days after that happened, most people did not believe it. I remember when that happened, like I didn't believe it at first, too. I thought that it was, like, some psycho had, like, broken into Chris Benoit's house and, like, killed him and his family. That's what most people thought. Most people thought it was, like, some burglary or something like that. They didn't think that it was, that Chris Benoit was actually capable of that, because Chris Benoit was, like, a friendly guy. A lot of people liked him in WWE. And so a lot of people did not imagine that he, you know, could do something like that, to kill his, you know, wife and kids. It was just horrible. And then, you know, WWE, remember, they canceled their show. They did like that 1 hour show where it was like in memory of Chris Benoit, and then they regretted it afterwards. So that was the whole, I remember that whole thing was just so disturbing when that happened.
Finest meats here. Nowhere else. Piece of shit.
What's crazier to me is that my biological mother texted me when I turned 18, asking me to forgive her. I haven't seen her since I was 6, and she left with no trace. That's up to you whether you want to answer her or not. But that is not a forgivable act. That's basically what I'll say about that. That is, that's, you know, and chances are they might want something from you too. That's I've heard horror stories about that, but it's your choice, dude. Do what you want. But that is, you know, not seeing a child for, you know, 12 years and then texting them when they're finally an adult. That's messed up. Is John Cena a Chinese sellout? In a way, I mean, John Cena, I lost a lot of respect for him when he did that whole apology. He apologized to the Chinese government. Like, I really lost a lot of respect for him. I used to like him a lot when I was a kid, but I lost a lot of respect for him. I did, when he did that. Yeah, Gunner, they could have, but they didn't. The Italian monarchy were a bunch of elitist, stupid aristocrats. That's what they were. And honestly, I will tell you, I am so proud of the Italians for voting to kick their monarchy out. Like, if I was Italian, I would have 100% voted in that referendum to kick the monarchy out of the country. So, like, that was definitely the right decision. It was definitely the right decision to kick the monarchy out. The monarchy had ruined Italy so much. They destroyed Italy. They ran Italy into the ground. It's a bunch of stupid aristocratic elites. They had nothing in common with the common man and woman in Italy.
I'm gonna make you regret this, you dumb piece of shit.
Brain scans showed real bad CTE. He wasn't the same. Wait, who are you talking about, Miku? Will you play Red Dead Redemption 2 on the channel as a full play? Yes, I want to play it later this year. Your boy just games and reacts. Yeah. No, I've never heard about George Wright. What did he do, Real Spreezo? How long has he been wanted for? Pat, why do you think the Vietnam War is more commonly known than the Korean War? Because it lasted longer. It was 20 years. But the Vietnam War lasted from 1955 all the way until 1975. That's how long that Vietnam War lasted. So it was a 20-year conflict. Oh, Chris Benoit has CTE. That's what you're talking about, Chris Benoit there. It was compared to Alzheimer's and PTSD. Oh, that's horrible, Miku. Yes, if I play Homefront, I'll definitely talk about North Korea's history, yeah. What a lot of people, oh crap, controller. What a lot of people don't know is that Homefront, that game, is actually based on the rise of Nazi Germany. So, like, a lot of people were making fun of Homefront when it came out, and they were saying, oh, you know, this game is stupid. They were like, there's no way that North Korea could rise and become a giant superpower, like this. But that is actually based on Nazi Germany's rise to power. Because if you look, like, for example, if you looked at at Germany in 1931, right? And you were to tell me that 10 years later, Germany manages to conquer almost all of Europe, that I would not believe you. So if I was alive in 1931 and you told me, oh, Germany in 10 years is gonna, you know, be this crazy military superpower and is gonna conquer all of Europe, I wouldn't believe you. But that's what happened, is that Nazi Germany went from a broken economy where it cost millions of marks just to buy a piece of bread. That's how bad Germany's economy was. It went from that into becoming a giant military superpower that managed to, you know, conquer most of Europe. So that's what Homefront's North Korea's rise to. So just don't think that it can't happen to any other country. Germany was one of the most poorest countries in the world at that time, and the fact that Germany, you know, became this crazy military and economic superpower, don't think it can't happen to other dictatorships too. Yeah, but that would defeat the purpose, Skip. If you need to create like another 3-letter agency to basically stop the CIA, then that defeats the whole purpose, because then that new agency is going to become the next CIA. Were they as bad as Zimbabwe and Venezuela at the time? Oh yeah. Yeah, like Germany's inflation rate was just as bad as Venezuela back then. Yeah, it was. Terrible. What did he do, Real Spreezo? That's why I hate the NFL. They did everything they could to erase CTE from the public eye. Concussions aren't allowed in Madden games because of them. Huh. Well, there was a lot of Stalin's opponents were What is this here? What? You know, what is that? Oh, it's a guy doing a mail mission. Leave him alone. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. It's just a guy doing a mail mission. So look, the ironic thing is that in some cases the Nazis actually helped Stalin, because they had killed a lot of people that were opponents of that were opponents of Stalin. So, like, for example, during the Warsaw Uprising, when the Nazis were killing the Polish people in the Warsaw Uprising, they were killing the Polish resistance, Stalin let that happen. He didn't intervene to stop it, because a lot of those Polish resistance fighters were anti-communists, and he basically just let the Nazis just kill all of them. And it also shows you how, it also shows you how stupid the Nazis were, how dumb they were, because the thing is that there were so many minorities and ethnicities that were inside the Soviet Union that hated Stalin. Like, so many people hated Stalin. The Ukrainians hated Stalin, the Belarusians hated Stalin, the Baltic peoples hated Stalin, the Tatars hated Stalin, the Chechens hated Stalin. Like, there was just, you know, so many groups that you just go down the list that hated Stalin. And the Nazis, instead of recruiting these groups to help fight for them, you know what they did? They just started genociding them. Just started killing all of them. Massacring them. And these same people went right back to Stalin for help. And that just shows you how stupid the Nazis were. Is that, like, literally, there were so many people that they could have used as help against Stalin, but instead, because they believed, oh, you know, their race was superior, they believed the Aryan race and everyone else is inferior to them, they didn't think they needed the help of anyone. And so they basically just started massacring and killing all these people. It wasn't until 1943, when the Nazis lost Stalingrad, that they started getting desperate. But then that's when they started drafting, like, people, like, from a lot of these different Soviet republics, like Ukrainians, Belarusians, Tatars, Chechens. They started taking those people into the German army, but that was only when the Germans started getting desperate. And that was, shows you how stupid the Nazis were. It's really literally there were so many people they could have used as allies, and instead they just started genociding them. Have you ever heard the saying, good Tsar, bad boyars? Refers to how Russian peasants viewed the Tsars back then. They believe most of them, their woes, can be blamed on the boyars. You mean, like the aristocrats? But the, I mean, the Tsar was an incompetent fool. He was an idiot. It was like, Nicholas was definitely a very bad leader. He was. The Soviets were worse, but it was like, that doesn't mean that Nicholas was necessarily a good leader.
What's that?
How did the Chinese Communist Party defeat the Kuomintang? How? By promising a lot of free stuff. I know that might sound ridiculous, but that's basically how the communists won the Chinese Civil War. They promised a lot of free stuff. Because the Kuomintang were Chinese nationalists, and the Chinese communists were promising land, food. They were making a lot of these promises. The Kuomintang didn't really make a lot of those promises too. And that was the primary reason why so many people sided with the communists over the Kuomintang. But that's probably one of the worst decisions in history. The Kuomintang did want a better China, and if the Chinese nationalists had won that war, China would have been a much better place today.
Go to hell!
Hey Pro, are you a fan of Mortal Kombat? If so, are you going to see Mortal Kombat 2? Plus, have you seen Stranger Than Heaven? It's a Yakuza prequel. I will do a reaction to that video tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll do a video reacting to it. I just really hope that I don't get a copyright claim, because I know the new trailer has some music in it. But I'll do a reaction to it tomorrow. Thank you, CM Bears Punk. I didn't even know that Mortal Kombat is a movie. I'm just I've never been much into the fighting games. Is it true ginger redheads colored because of Nazis? What? What are you talking about, Aaron? Well, the KMT won the majority battles against the Japanese. That is true. They fought the most battles against the Japanese. Hitler's main fault, too emotional, not pragmatic. Do you know what... Will there be poker tonight? Yeah, we'll play. What I'll say about what I will say about Hitler is the biggest narcissist that has ever existed in human history. Definitely. Like, out of all the leaders that have ever existed in history, Hitler is definitely the biggest narcissist. The biggest one out of all of them. And if you want to know how much of a narcissist that Hitler is, not even Stalin was as narcissistic as him. And Stalin was a pretty narcissistic guy. So not even Stalin was that narcissistic. Narcissistic basically means that you think that you're smarter than everyone, you think that you're better than everyone, you think you're superior to everyone, and that's what Hitler believed. Hitler believed that he was some kind of tactical genius. He thought that he was the, best military commander ever. He thought he didn't need to listen to anyone, he didn't need to listen to any generals. His orders were final. You could not argue with him at all on anything. He was just a complete idiot. I was asked a question before. Who was the worst general of World War II? And if I really was to answer that question completely, the Hitler. When you really think about it, am I wrong? Hitler was really the worst general of World War II. The worst one. Entire armies got destroyed because of him. Entire armies got obliterated because of his stupid commands, his stupid orders. Like, what a complete idiot. Basically, early on in, so, early on during Operation Barbarossa, when Hitler had invaded the Soviet Union, right? There was a lot of Soviet commanders were blamed for that, and they were shot. And Stalin just kept having Soviet commanders killed constantly. And what ended up happening is Stalin realized, if I keep killing commanders, I'm not going to have anyone left. And so Stalin realized, hey, maybe I shouldn't be giving commands because I'm making a lot of really stupid decisions. So what Stalin did was Stalin stopped telling his generals what to do. Stalin would demand updates from his generals, sure, but he wouldn't tell his generals everything that they needed to do. So like Zhukov was free, for example, to plan on his own. He was free to do his own operations, his own planning. The German generals did not have that freedom. So Stalin did not come into the boardroom and tell his generals what they couldn't do. Hitler, on the other hand, would constantly interfere with his generals. He would tell his generals, you do this, you do that, blah, 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 this, constantly interfere with that. And it pissed a lot of the generals off. A lot of the generals hated that. They hated when Hitler intervened in planning.
What in the hell?
What's your opinion on any prankster from social media? Well, it really depends on what kind of prankster. Some pranksters are harmless, but other pranksters are really annoying. Where like for me, the pranks that cross a line are the pranks that basically like offend people, or they create like a sense of danger or something like that. That is basically like a fear. Basically, like those types of pranks are the ones that cross a line. Like I will tell you, I saw this one prank on YouTube. It was like the stupidest prank ever. This guy, what he would do is he would go into random stores, like a clothing store, and he would put a fake fire alarm on the wall. Like he would attach it to the wall, like a sticky fire alarm. It looked like a real fire alarm. And he would tell people, I'm gonna pull the fire alarm, I'm gonna pull the fire alarm, and people were like, saying like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And then when he would pull the fire alarm would just play like sex noises. Like it was like it's like the most disgusting, stupidest thing ever. And I'm like, people find this funny? This is stupid. Like this is just idiotic. This is dumb. So I honestly, in my opinion, people should be arrested for stuff like that. You do stuff like that, I think you should get arrested for doing crap like that. So that is that's creating a panic when you really think about it, and creating a panic is illegal already. So yeah, that's what I'll say. It really depends on the pranks. If you want to know do you know what the best prankster channel on YouTube is? The best one? It's this Canadian channel called Just for Laughs. Just for Laughs has been doing pranks for over 20 years. And Just for Laughs, they never do any of the toxic stuff. They never hurt anybody. They never offend anybody. Like their pranks are actually pretty funny and fine. So it's Just for Laughs has always done like the best ones. They're literally the best prankster channel out there.
Need the law now.
Howdy.
No way.
The peasants believed that if the Tsar was aware of their plight, he would use his powers to fix everything and make their lives better. Everything good because of the Tsar. Gunner. The thing about that is that if the Tsar does not realize how bad his people are... If a leader does not know how bad his people are living, how can that person call himself a leader? If you don't know how bad your people are living, if you don't know how bad their lives are, can you call yourself a leader? And you had Bloody Sunday, which I think it was called Bloody Sunday, where it was this priest that was in St. Petersburg, and this priest had signed a petition from like a lot of factory workers for the Tsar to improve working conditions for the poor, and they had marched onto the palace, the White Palace, and the Tsar's guards, the soldiers, opened fire on people. Thousands of people died during that. That was, I think it was called Bloody Sunday in Russia. It was like, and that was one of the things that really caused the Russian Revolution, was stuff like that. So, no, I'm not defending the communists or anything. I hate the communists. But it was like, the Tsar did not help his case. Like, he was he was like, the Tsar was like the stupidest, most incompetent leader that you can literally think about.
Our nation. Go on and move. You must have dung for brains.
I forgot that was a feature in the game. How did he manage to steal a plane, Spreezo? What would the founding fathers have thought of our involvement in World War II? They would have supported it, because America had gotten attacked at Pearl Harbor. Well, you said earlier that the Irish were colored, giving their ginger hair and their region during World War II. I didn't say the Irish were colored. I said the Irish were considered colored. Like in American history, for example, the Irish were not considered white for like a lot of American history. They were actually considered colored. A lot of people don't know that. Thank you, Aaron, for the super chat. Yeah, and I will say some of these guys are like really stupid. Like when those two random Italian guys were in his driveway, like it was obvious it was a hit. And then it was Angelo. Angelo also died really stupidly. Like if you've seen how Angelo died, like I don't know how Angelo did not see that was coming. That was a hit. Yeah, that picture of Hitler in the shorts near the tree, it's such a cringy picture, and Hitler like ordered that picture destroyed, but the photographer kept copies of it. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, just Google picture Hitler wearing Bavarian shorts, like near a tree. There's this like really cringy picture of Hitler in his shorts, like right leaning against a tree. It's like one of the cringiest pictures in history that I've ever seen. And like Hitler was so angry about the picture that he ordered every picture destroyed, but the photographer kept copies.
Put the mask on. It's fine. Who's got mouse speed, huh? Give him one of these ribs. What's wrong with you?
There is a YouTube channel that dismantled the Bloody Sunday. The priest, Father Galpin, was paid by the Communist Party, and in the rally, there was people armed with guns. Well, this is the first time that I'm hearing about it, but, the thing is, in those type of situations, though, for the soldiers to just keep firing into a crowd like that, that's not... That situation is not... The army, even if the crowd had guns, that the army handled that situation really badly. Wait, are you serious? Yeah, there's a, so, yeah, just Google it, Google it, cringy Hitler picture, like, or I shouldn't say cringy, just Google, Hitler shorts picture, like, Hitler shorts, and it'll come up instantly, like, it's like, he's, like, leaning against a tree in his shorts. It's, like, the most cringiest photo I've seen in history. Like, Hitler was so mad about that photo that he ordered every copy destroyed, but the photographer was really brave, and he kept copies.
You got horse shit for brains.
Oh, that's the funny thing. The funny thing about Saltis is I'm actually playing as Saltis in Empire of Sin right now. He's the only guy I have left to get my platinum trophy. So I've beaten the game with every gangster except Saltis, and Saltis is the last one that I'm playing as.
God help me.
How much of North Korea, history of North Korea do you know? I have a Korean grandmother on my mom's side who was born in South Korea, which was part of Japan in 1941 or 1943. I know a bit about it. Korea was occupied by Japan in the 1920s. It was a Japanese colony. I know that Korea had like a puppet king. It was just to legitimize Japan's rule, but he was really a puppet. Korea was pretty much a colony. I know a lot of Koreans, for example, got drafted by the Japanese into the military, especially in the Mongolian Japanese War. A lot of Koreans fought in that conflict. The Kim Il-sung, who became the dictator of North Korea, he was a communist rebel that had fought against the Japanese for some time. He was basically a partisan. Now,
Morning, mister.
when the Soviets had come into North Korea after the Manchuria invasion in August 1945, when they invaded Manchuria, China, they put Kim Il-sung in power. And then, then 5 years later, when he had built up the North Korean military, he invaded South Korea.
You're a real bitch.
Japan annexed Korea in 1910. Okay, my bad. I thought it was the 20s. But yeah, that's what I know. And then, you have the rest of the Korean War. Yeah, we could, General. The Bank of America is now trying to make GTA 6 $80. What? Wait, what? George Wright was part of the Black Liberation Army. In 1972, he and others hijacked a plane by secretly bringing guns on board. Huh. I didn't know that. What's wrong, Sheikh Sella? The best general of World War II? Oh. That's a tough one. I don't know.
You delivered us our outlaw.
Everything wrong with Russian Revolution of oversimplified. Okay, I'll look into it, Nicholas.
Money's on the table.
No, probably not, T.I. You playing poker tonight? We'll probably give it a chance. Pick Barbella Alcazar this time. Oh. Okay, we can do Barbella Alcazar, but that's gonna be tough.
Make it easy on me. Just lay down.
Oh, I think that, with legendary bounties, yeah, we need, we need, we need 4 people with bounties. Everyone's here. How many people we got in this posse? Have a good night. Thank you, Mikey. Yeah, we're full. I might just jump straight into poker then. I haven't played that in some time. Do you think Zhukov is the best general of World War II? You could definitely give him that contender. Definitely, one of them. Okay. That might work there, Zach. You know what I know some people are gonna probably be like, oh god, no. But I think I might do the Mind's Eye DLC. There's like a Mind's Eye story DLC that came out. I might do like a playthrough of it just for like the memes. We just might rage through it. People were desperate at that time, Gilted. That's why they became so popular. What's wrong, let's skip? Yay, 120 cents.
I've been in tougher places than this, let me tell you.
Oh, certainly.
Well, when in the Kosciuszko uprising, a lot of those aristocrats, I will tell you, those Polish aristocrats that had basically worked with the Tsar were some of the biggest scumbags ever. They're traitors. They're just people who just sold out their own country and their own people just for money. No, I haven't yet, Vanny. Or not, or I mean Mario. Wait, what sucks is documents on my grandmother, were destroyed in the Korean War when Korea was still part of Japan. Oh. Are both your parents are Korean, Vanny? The Portuguese government refused to extradite him? What? Who did he kill, by the way, Spreezo? Leslie Penzies equals Leslie Narcissist? Oh my, you're a funny guy, Mason. Wait, what do you mean? Can you explain this more, Shiny Knight? What would you consider to be your favorite DLC of any game? Easy. My favorite DLC of all time in a video game would have to be episodes from Liberty City and GTA 4. Both the Lost and Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony. Why do you think it would defeat the purpose? You're literally creating an internal affair for those agencies. Here's the thing is, whenever you make government bigger, government just wants more power when it becomes bigger. And if you need to create, like, the CIA needs to be dismantled. It does. Because the CIA has caused so many problems. It's such a bad organization. I think it literally needs to be dismantled. It does. The government needs to take it apart, and close it down for good. But if you need to create a new agency, like a new three-letter agency, to basically take the CIA apart, you're defeating the whole purpose, because then that new three-letter agency is going to become the next CIA, and the cycle is just going to keep going and going. He killed a gas station worker in 1962. Ugh. And Portugal refuses to extradite this guy. That's this. Has the guy apologized for it? He probably not. The Khmer National Armed Forces. Are you talking about Cambodia, Kaiten? My mom's first sight is her mom is Korean, and her dad is Norwegian American. Oh, okay, Vanny. Targovica, yes. But Kosciuszko, it's unfortunate that Kosciuszko was, Kosciuszko's, was not successful in his uprising. Oh, wow, look at this hand. This is actually a really good hand here. I'm gonna win this hand. What's for dinner, Pro? I don't know yet, but I'm gonna win this. This hand I'm gonna win. You guys will see this. I'm gonna win this hand. Bank of America. Yeah, Shining Knight. Worst event on Dillon Street in Schottler, when Roman probably got kidnapped. Well, I'm gonna work my magic right now. Watch this. I'm gonna win this hand. There we go. I said I'd win the hand and I did it. I disagree about your opinion on the California high-speed project. I think it's a horrible idea. I do too, but here's my view of it. I love the idea of high-speed rail. My dream is for America to have high-speed rail going from California to New York one day. That's my dream. That we'd have high-speed rail that'll be going from coast to coast. Maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe one day. But I would love for that, because I would much rather take, I'll tell you something, I would much rather take high-speed rail than take a plane. So even if it takes hours longer, just the comfort of just the train, I'd rather take that over a plane. So, but what California did with the high-speed rail is essentially a scam. They spent like $200 billion, and they didn't even put any tracks down. Like, how is the government so incompetent that you spend billions of dollars, and you don't even put any tracks down? It's a disaster. So my mom came to me yesterday after we had a major falling out, and before I moved out, she realized she can't do crap without me. She proposed a deal where we tolerate each other until new flats. And what do you think of that, Liskiff? Kind of like Japan's bullet train in a way, yeah. Has he commented on that guy that he killed, Spreezo? I watched this video on Judge Judy with a man and a husband and a wife have a fight because they park in a handicapped spot and it was all on video. My god. I don't know why people do stuff like that. I've seen people do that in real life. I've seen people park in handicapped spots that are not handicapped. They don't even have the handicap sticker. Oh, Bork left a super chat. Spores na katastrofe vylać megantich wersja pro? Something about a catastrophe. And inside lock megantich. My Polish reading isn't always the best. What are you trying to say to me, Bork? What? Mario, you're a funny guy. What's the difference between the game shows? I know how Jeopardy works, but how does Family Feud work? Oh wow, these cards are really good. Look at these. Look at this hand. I'll look into it, Shiny Knight. A guy does documentaries on Chicago and other gangsters. Channels The Last Supper, Crime and History. I'll look into it. Well, it could be manipulation because she's only saying that when you're threatening to move out, Liskiff. The restaurant? I've never really ate there, Degree. I say in English, there's a massive derailment in the small village of Lach, Megantich, and the company responsible got away with any liability. Is this that train crash that you kept telling me about? The same one? No, I didn't know that Mark Plyer's family's from North Korea. Moral lesson about Judge Judy in divorce court. Do not take sides with both spouses that get a divorce. Always stay on the side of neutral. Huh. You know, yeah. Yeah, I've seen a divorce go, not in my family, but I've seen it in a friend's family, and it's really ugly when it happens. Oh, hey, Augustus, what's up? Damn, not even one pair. Okay, I'll check this. Za moja siostra taka jak ty? My sister is like you? Is that what you're saying? I'm folding here. These cards aren't good. They're good cards, but there's... There. No, I know that Denmark and Prussia did fight a war. I know that Denmark did beat Prussia in a major battle, though. I missed your super chat, Brandon. Wait. Thank you, Isaiah. This is part 2, and even the wife said to everyone the main man claims of raping her, and she's lying to Judge Judy. What? Well, you never want to lie to Judge Judy. She will tear you apart if she finds out you're lying. I did. People were talking about the Hantavirus earlier. Oh, my older sister likes you. Oh, she thinks you're cute. Well, I guess I misread that. I thought you were saying that I thought you said that my sister is like me. Okay, wait, I got... You know what? Hang on. Let's raise this. I'll see you, Minion Dave. Take care, man. Have you heard about Judge Roland Freischer? He was a Nazi judge who presided over the People's Court in Nazi Germany. I know exactly who you're talking about. He was killed in February 1945 during an air raid. An air raid happened and he got crushed to death. Ah, they won that there. They had a jack. Okay. Well, I'm still ahead. I'm gonna stop here. It's still on him, Spreezo. That's... Does the victim's family, are they still around? Do you want to see the video? There are 3 parts of the video. If you want, can I add the video on PSN? Yeah, send it to me, Brandon. I'll watch it. Thank you for the super chat. Well, Canada used to be a colony of Britain, yeah. California, California has had corruption problems, like the hospices thing that happened recently. There was a lot of scams that went around with that, and then they had the high-speed rail scam. I noticed it, Liskiff, but I didn't understand it. I can't read that.
Hello there.
Oh, okay, visionary.
How you feeling?
Okay, I think I'm probably gonna head out here, guys. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm kind of hungry. I'll answer a few questions before I go. Would I rather fight against Tarleton's British Legion or Simcoe's Rangers in the Revolutionary War? Both were pretty elite formations. Have you ever watched Turn Washington Spies? In Turn Washington Spies, Simcoe's Queen's Rangers are actually the main antagonists. Where in the Patriot, it's the, Tavington's force, which is based on Tarleton's British Legion. But Simcoe is basically a psychopath. If you watched a Turn Washington Spies, it was actually pretty good. Do you think tanks are useless nowadays? No, they do still serve a purpose, but tanks are much easier to be targeted now. Because back in the day, like during World War II, tanks were just kings of the road in World War II. Because in World War II, the one thing that tanks were very vulnerable was to planes. But the only way to really destroy tanks was other tanks and anti-tank weapons, but you had to get really close to a tank back then to destroy it, and that made you very vulnerable. Today, you don't have to be that close to a tank at all. You can blow up a tank from hundreds of meters away. Okay, I'll watch it a little bit later, Brandon. I didn't understand what you meant, the whole smoothies comment, Mario, but when you just said about them drinking, I just thought that was funny. Yes, in the Korean War, Hamzat, hey. I'll be playing Majima Saga after SOCOM 3. But I guess we'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for watching the stream. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend, guys.